You know, one day I woke up and, you know, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. You know, nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
It is important to know what your road signs and markings means. The zigzag lines means you should not park in the marked area. Parking is allowed inside the solid white lines on the edge of the road. Remember, look out for pedestrians. Pedestrians, be sure the vehicle comes to a complete stop before crossing. These tips can save your life. These tips can make our roads safer for all users. Be safe, be seen, be smart. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Say good morning to the entire Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Tuesday, the 24th day of January, within the year 2023. Good morning. GT with you, and welcome one and all once again. It's Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point this morning. This morning, my guest representing the New National Party, so what would you like to say, the Opposition Party. We have the Honorable Oliver Joseph with us this morning. So Joseph, good morning, and how are you, sir? Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to all your viewers and listeners. I'm doing fine.
Well, I can see that. I can certainly see that. How's 2023 going for you thus far?
Thus far, it's going fine.
I mean, we know we early into the year, just around 24 days going into the year, but you say everything is going fine.
Yes, things is going well for me.
All right, that's good. That's good. That's good. Now we're going to get into the meat of the matter this morning in terms of conversation here on To the Point being Opposition Tuesday. There's a couple of questions that I'm going to have to ask, and we have lots to talk about this morning. There's so much going on in Grenada.
Yes, a lot going on.
So much going on in this beautiful island of ours. Let's kick it off this morning. I have a question that I would like to ask. Now, has a date been set by the new National Party to hold convention? And if the answer is no, why not? And there's the other part of this question is also, has a timeline been set for the convention?
Thank you very much for this question. So, we had a convention in February of 2022. People keep forgetting that. So it's the Constitution said we should have annual convention. And we had one already. We had one in 2022.
Yes.
In fact, February 2022 is when I was elected as chairman of the party. So the party will take its time. The executive will discuss it to decide when we're going to go into a convention. So we have not yet, as you say, it's only 24 days in the year. We have not yet decided on when that date will be, but we are not behind in having convention. We are on track for having convention.
So soon, there's no specific date been set yet.
No.
Is it going to be within 2023? In the 2023?
That is the intention. But no date has been set yet.
Okay. Well, we certainly await when a date will be announced. Guess that will be the interest of the nation. Now, there's another conversation that's been going around for the last couple of weeks. That's what, let me get your thoughts on it. The collaboration between Gloria Thomas and Delma Thomas. Let me get your thoughts on that collaboration.
You see, you have to look at it in what context and the background to this thing. So we have two persons who contested the election on the opposite side.
Yes.
And in our system of politics, you campaign and you battle to win votes and get the support of people. And you win on a particular ticket because people vote for party and they vote for individual. So you have a certain percentage of votes that will be party votes and a certain percentage that will be individual vote. But when you succeed, then you represent the interests of all in your constituency. But the people in your constituency, they have expressed a preference for an individual and for a party. So the party did not, that Honorable Delma Thomas represent, was not successful at the polls, as you know. So she is the opposition MP. Honorable Thomas was successful and she is in the opposition. The Honorable Gloria Thomas, her party won, but she did not win her seat. And both of them decided that, well, let's collaborate and work together to build the constituency. It is the first time we have seen that happening, and therefore it's early stages to pass any judgment. For me, I'm not passing any judgment on what is taking place. I'll wait to see what the outcome is.
All right. Now, tell me, has Delma Thomas given any indication about whether she plans to exit the party or remain?
No, she has not. No, that conversation has not taken place. No, from all her utterances, she is collaborating to bring development to the constituency.
And that's basically
yes.
it. Now, I still have some other questions that I would like to ask, before we all get into the matter in here on To the Point this morning. Now, some folks are forecasting the demise of the NMP, all right, in similar fashion to the GULP. What is the party doing to ensure that that does not happen? I mean, just there be a conversation we're hearing going around, folks saying stuff. What's your take on that?
I think people who are saying that have not followed the political history of the NNP. It's not the first time NNP has lost an election. In fact, in 2008, you will recall, NNP lost 11-4. 11-4. And people were saying that's the demise and that's the end. And in the next session, they won all 15 seats. Twice in succession. Now it's 9-6. They're still in a stronger position. We are in a stronger position now with 9-6. And the base of our party, we have a stronger base than the NDC. And all the polls will show that. What made the difference in the last election in terms of the vote are the people in the middle, the middle ground. But if you just compare the base, NNP has a stronger base in the country. And Dr. Pierre polls show that. And he even gave the reason why we have a stronger base than the NDC in his poll. So with this base that we have, we are in opposition. And all we need to do is to restructure the party and energize the base. And the party is easily rebound to take control of government again. So I don't understand where this is coming from, but there's the end of the NNP. That's people who do not study the politics of Grenada.
All right. Let me ask you this question also. How do you feel about the party's loss in the 2023 general elections?
Well, it's difficult to get a third term, first of all, as a political party. And also, we have been in office for several years. And for the young people, all they know is Dr. Mitchell as Prime Minister. And the opposition came out and sold herself as a young, they have a young leader with a new slate, and they appealed to the younger population, and they responded and said, yes, let's give the NDC a chance. Whether it's for better or for worse, they did not consider that. All they were concerned about we want change. And that message resonated with them. And that's why you saw the shift in vote. But the difference in the total amount of vote was only 3,200.
Okay.
The difference. So that is what I'm saying. The NNP is a solid party, is a strong party. And while we have a change in government and we're in opposition, give us a time to reflect, to look at ourselves, to do some introspection, and to plan the way forward. And that is what we are doing now. We are more concerned about planning the way forward, restructuring the party, energizing the base, rather than focusing on whether we should have a convention next month. That's not the priority of the party. We have to do the necessary things that will bring the party back to the position that it was before, so that we can be ready for governance when we are called upon once again by the people.
All right. I have another question that will follow suit in terms of what you actually mentioned in the first question, in your answer in the first question. Now, some pundits have believed that it's time for the opposition leader to hang up his political boots. What's your take on this?
The party will determine that. The delegates and the members, how we in a convention, you have delegates.
Yeah.
And the delegates decide who the leader would be, and the members of the executive. But let's focus on the leadership. So people might be saying that for different reasons. As I said, they might think Dr. Mitchell served long enough and that he should hang up his time to demit office. But Dr. Mitchell has played a major role in this country's development. And I admire his astute leadership and the way he sacrificed for this country. You can't just go to Dr. Mitchell now and say, well, I think you should step aside. That would be the wrong strategy. We need him in the rebuilding of the party. He must be there to help guide us and to lead the party, because he has made a major... He's first of all, the longest serving Prime Minister. The party with the most victory. You don't get... How many people come along and do these things? So, I find too many times they focus on the negative side, and I don't hear enough of the positive side of the contribution that Dr. Mitchell has made. He has made a tremendous contribution for this country. Look at the infrastructure of this country. When you build for example, Grenada is a small island state with all these challenges. And every time there is a crisis, who is there at the helm? Dr. Mitchell. To lead us through hurricane, the coronavirus and has taken the country successfully through this crisis. So I don't understand why all this negative feedback about Dr. Mitchell should just exit the scene and should go. They probably have different motive. They thinking that, well, if Dr. Mitchell is no longer with the NNP probably be weakened. But he's there, given his commitment to working with the party. He has given his commitment to ensure that the new national party that he spent all these years building does not disintegrate and end up like the GULP.
All right.
He said that will sadden him if he reaches to that stage. And therefore, he is committed to working assiduously to help build back this party.
All right. You know, we certainly have lots of questions to be asked, and I know there are viewers and listeners out there who are probably doing as the morning progresses. We will give them opportunity to. I have seen the phone going already, but we're not going to entertain the phone as yet. Now, let me ask you this, Joseph. What's your thoughts on the NDC government's performance thus far?
I think they overall, well, they come in as a new government, and it had the budget presentation, and now it's time, January is time for implementation. When they came in, they continued with the projects that were left there by the NNP. The resources were there, that they met there, because in 4 months you couldn't raise $75 million to pay pension. So that should be obvious that it was the revenue that was left there to do this thing. So the money was there for the work. Now you have to find your own resources. You announced your budget. But there are some measures that have been taken that is a bit puzzling. The most recent one is the removal of the $150 from the poor and vulnerable. At this time, when everyone in the country complaining about the high cost of living, that is not the time to reduce the income that you are giving people. If anything, that's the time you should increase it to help these vulnerable people. But instead, you remove the $150 without any notice. And people went to collect the money, they were shocked that the $150 was just removed.
I mean, your party did have a release out on that matter sometime last week. I mean, what's the party's feeling on that?
No, our release was very clear. We are calling on the government to restore the $150. That is what we said in our release. We explained the basis for the increase, why these people need to be given this assistance, and calling on the government to restore the $150. That is the basis of the release.
But government did say that should have been a temporary measure from the previous administration.
I don't know where they got this temporary measure, because if you look at the address, I went back and looked at the Minister of Finance, Gregory Boyne, speech announcing it in Parliament during the budget presentation, and I didn't hear him say that it's a temporary measure. And then you had the current Minister of Social Development, Gloria Thomas. You can go back and look for again. She did indicate that it was a temporary measure for 1 year that is supposed to end. However, she said, this government will not remove the $150. And anyone can go back and YouTube and listen to it. So everyone was shocked that you made a promise not to remove it. And then then the first occasion, the first month of the year, it was removed. And so I am a bit puzzled with a decision like that. Also the decision to put value-added tax on sugar. Grenada is not the only Caribbean country facing this issue of diabetes and diabetic patient. In fact, Barbados rate is higher than ours. And I could talk about Barbados, a country that I lived in and worked. So I know these statistics there. And they have not put increased tax or duty on sugar. Sugar, as one doctor explained to me, is not the problem. It's lifestyle. How you live, what you eat, or do you exercise regular, do you control your diet? That is a problem, not sugar by itself. So to say, well, you will increase the tax on sugar so that people will consume less, and therefore you have less patients being diabetic.
So what would be the call of your organization for those taxes that have been added? What is the call for your organization in terms of, are you looking for maybe government to reconsider?
All right, so now every government free to introduce whatever tax policies they want, right? Which we call in economic sense fiscal policies. All fiscal policy mean your tax measures, tax policies. And every government will introduce different taxes. However, when you introduce in a tax, you must be very clear on who you're affecting by the tax measures, who will get affected. So we're saying that tax on sugar, which is so widely consumed, will affect the poorest of the poor because they have bigger households. If you have bigger households in Grenada, you use more sugar. And the small cottage industry, the people who make the little guava cheese to sell, and sugar cake and groundnut thing, these little things that use sugar, it will affect the price, right? So you are affecting a serious percentage of the population by this increase in putting 15% VAT on sugar, and we're saying that is not the way to put a tax. There are other areas that you can look to put tax that does not have this negative impact on the poor and the vulnerable in our country, because that's a group that we are very concerned about, because they are the ones that are suffering the most. And if your policy is to lift people out of poverty and to ensure that you live the standard of living of people, you cannot do that by reducing the money that you're giving them as support. That is counterproductive. And therefore, we are seeing that you should look to other areas to raise revenue than to put the VAT on sugar. And we think that you will not get the desired outcome, because the way it was presented is not as a revenue measure, it was presented as a health measure. That is how it was presented. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to see at the end of 2022 how many reported cases of diabetes we had in Grenada, and at the end of 2023, because of the increase in sugar, whether it increase or decrease. Okay. Because that is what the reason that was put forward.
Well, my question started off by the previous question I asked, what are your thoughts on government performance? Now, I'd like to ask you, do you think they have fall short in any way, the present administration?
Yes, they fall short by not living up to the promises. They promise that no one will be sent home. Don't worry, your job will be secure. And what we see happen, mass layoff. And I could point out all the areas where you had mass layoff. So that's the first thing. We had this program that we had introduced. We introduced the warden, environmental warden. Then we had the house repair brigade. And all this program was demand driven, because people who we gave housing material, what we noticed is that some of them, it was under the house and not used. And when we did our investigation, we realized that these poor people just couldn't afford to do it. So what we did, we established housing brigade with carpenters and masons who go out and repair the house for these people, and thus providing jobs throughout the country. Then we had the bathroom and toilet project that we introduced. That was not there before. That was introduced. That created jobs for masons to go wrong. In each constituency had brigades. Each constituency had brigade to construct bathroom and toilet for the poor and vulnerable people, because we wanted to get rid of pit latrine. That was the objective of it. And people welcome that program. And what happened? These people were given 1 day notice, They went out to work. August the 1st was a public holiday. So they went out to work on the 2nd and was told that the contract has ended. They don't need them. And their bathroom and toilet halfway completed. They did not even say, well, complete those that you started. Don't start any new ones. Complete it, and with 1 month notice, and the program will come to. I know 1 day they were told that is the end of the program.
Do you think the current administration also has gotten anything right from New National Party stand being the opposition party, do you think they have gotten anything right?
No, I'm not saying that they did everything wrong. I'm pointing out to the fact, the areas that they implemented that were not in favor of the poor and working class. Right? That is what I'm pointing out. When you come into power, you come with your own philosophy, own ways of doing things, and people will judge you. Why is NNP referred to as a working class government? Because people know that NNP always sought to uplift the living standard of the poor and vulnerable. So they get this title of a working class government, as opposed to the NDC that is seen as a upper class, middle and upper class interests.
I certainly do understand where you're coming from with that, but my question was, when you have stated a lot of things that you think where they have fallen short, I'm asking you now, have you think that the present administration has gotten anything right in terms of all that they have done thus far?
Well, I don't like to look at things in terms of right and wrong. I find that kind of binary thinking. I find that you're right or you're wrong. They have implemented policies that, for example, they moved to reduce the gasoline tax and give relief. But this relief went directly to motor vehicle owners, because it wasn't passed on. When the petrol tax was removed, there was no reduction in bus fare, There was no reduction in freight, If you took a truck from the port to Grenville or Sotes, you pay the same amount, right? But the vehicle owners of vehicles benefited. So I drive a vehicle, cheaper gas means that I will have a savings.
Yes.
So vehicle owners did get
some relief from
some relief from lower gas prices. Then the government said that they want to restructure the way things have been done. They will look into the programs that we have, the Imani program, the seed programs. It's nothing wrong in reviewing it. I'm not saying it's wrong. But when you review it, I want to see let's see what the outcome will be. Well, let's see what will be. Now they go and pay the pension, of course. That's a very good thing.
Yeah.
Here's the payment. I am happy for all the people who got a pension. We said we were going to pay, but we called the election and didn't have time to pay. But they came in, they promised to pay, and they paid. So that's a very good thing. $75 million for people who, because of the law, not because of any other government, because of the law that was there, the Pension Disqualification Act. That is why it wasn't paid before. And the matter went to court. The union took the matter to court, and the court ruled that the Pension Disqualification Act is unconstitutional. So it had to be restored. No, that's a huge cost to the government. 75 million is just the retroactive payment, You're talking about going forward now. With all these people, you have to add to the pension payroll. They have to add. So what you can find happening is that the pension payroll may exceed the current salary and wages payroll, because you add 525, and I was told it will increase probably 600 more. And every month, these people have to get a pension. So it's an additional cost. But I'm saying I'm happy that this government paid it. And it was easy to do that because they made the resources there. And to their credit, they did deliver, and they promised to pay the pension. So if you want to look at it as right and wrong, and you ask me if they did anything right, I think they got that one right.
We've been speaking for a while, but I do have one more question that I would like to ask you within this segment before we take a break and come back into the final half an hour. If you were Minister of Trade, right, or if you were Minister of Trade, what would you be focused on right now?
Right now, the focus will be on how we can develop.
Or what would your focus be right now?
Right. So the focus would be and improving on our local capacity to produce local food. There is this Buy Local campaign, and the Made in Grenada Expo will be held same day with Independence. And if you go to this expo, you see so many things that our manufacturers produce, but at a limited scale. So what you have to do now is give incentives. I will focus on giving incentives to small, medium, and micro enterprises and large ones to get into more production of local foods, so that we can produce for ourselves, because the input bill is so high. We import almost everything still, and we still import. I remember when I was Minister of Trade, the last figure I remember for our trade deficit was $1.05 billion. That means we imported $1.05 billion more than we exported. I think that might have been a 2018 or 2019 figure, right? So it's a reduce, and this food, I'm talking about the food component now. For example, as I recall, in 2019, poultry imports was 35 million EC. And that, when we had two companies that were about to start producing local poultry, I was so happy. I said, yes, we got to get it right now. We got to reduce on the imports of all this poultry meat, and let us have our local poultry. I was very happy. And then I heard that there were some difficulties, and we continue to import. If I was the Minister of Trade, I will meet with these investors, see what sort of support the government can give them to get it up and running in 2023, because we need it. We need local poultry in this country.
All right. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we could discuss some more. It's To The Point for today, Tuesday, the 24th of January, folks. It's Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point. We're coming right back after the break.
Your life is yours, your future's in your hands, your body is yours, that's why you need a plan. You gotta plan your family, avoid HIV, get the education from the Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
We offer STI screening, gender-based violence counseling, prenatal and postnatal checks, injectables, condoms, pap smears, and other sexual reproductive services. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Pointe Street, St. George's. Whether male or female, it doesn't matter. We're here to make your life better.
Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
For appointments, call 440-3341.
A GPPA clinic may be in a health facility in your area. Information can be found via Facebook at the Grenada Planned Parenthood Association. Clinics are in partnership with the Ministry of Health and GrenChap. This ad is sponsored by Canada Fund for Local Initiatives.
I want you folks to play these 3 games from the NLA. Daily Pick 3 cash flow and play with. You will be supporting sports and culture, nation building and our future. So go out and play, folks, make it a must. You will see what the National Lottery is doing for us. When you play Pick 3 cash flow and play with, the NLA will support you all the way.
Starting September 30th, Monday to Friday, these 3 games will be drawn mid-morning, 9:45 a.m., midday, 12:45 p.m., and evenings, 7:45 p.m. The National Lotteries, supporting sports, culture, and nation building.
Sunday money
Rep your colors. Hot 98 presents the 473 Colors Boat Ride. Going on Saturday, February 4. Get your tickets now at gotofed.com for only $65. Food included. Boarding time 7 p.m. The boat sails at 7:30. Music on board by the Hot 98 DJs plus other guest DJs.
Baby, calm down, calm down.
Rep your colors on the boat, cause this one here is gonna be epic. Lock the date, Saturday, February 4th. Hot 98 473 Colors Boat Ride. this.
Mr. mentioned the wing high, then you have things like manuals, cross combat, you know. We have the low power there.
It is kind of like the same man, and it's just different name for the same kind of thing.
And last but not least, I just want to say to all the men who saw me, call me, and ask for a piece of cake. I'm baking this weekend.
Join us Fridays at 8 on GBN Television, K105 FM, GBN's Facebook page, and YouTube channel for We Culture.
Welcome back to our listeners and viewers. It's to the point for today, Tuesday, the 24th day of January. It's Opposition Tuesday. And we have the Honorable Oliver Joseph with us this morning, and he's representing the New National Party, who's the opposition party here in Grenada. So Oliver, let's go to another segment of our conversation this morning. And I would like to get into the CBI program. Explain the CBI program for me. Maybe as someone who may have limited knowledge about it.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. Because I'll say it's a very good question from the point of view that this government has decided to continue.
Yeah.
And that's something they did good too, if you want a good thing. Besides paying the pension, that's a good thing. They have decided to continue with the CBI program. So what is this Citizenship by Investment program now? So we had to diversify our revenue base, the source of revenue. And I don't know if you recall, I'm not sure if you was included at the time, we had introduced some, in the financial sector, we went to offshore financial services.
Yes.
And in the Caribbean, most countries in the Caribbean. And we started doing well. And then the US and the EU blacklist us. You know, the European Union like to put you on blacklist when you want to not complying with them. The blacklist are saying you have to make amendments, you must change these regulations that you have there because you're encouraging money laundering, and give us a sweet legislation. I remember in our case, just before Christmas, we had to go and pass it because the deadline was the 31st of December. I don't remember if it's 2019. I remember St. Vincent when Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, you know, everybody read, but they had to go and pass. So that killed the sector. Then we said, okay, there's this program, Citizenship by Investment. Simple means that you make an investment into the country will set the amount. Then you can become a citizen by making that investment. That is why it's called Citizenship by Investment. So you get citizenship. So coming to our program now. In our program, we have two options. You can make an investment into what is called an approved project. That is a project approved by the government. So we set up a CBI committee, and we set up a CBI unit that will receive application. So that's the first one. That's under Section 11 of the CBI Act, that you can make investment, and through that investment, you can obtain citizenship. And then you have a next section, Section 10, that says you can make a contribution of $200,000 US to a National Transformation Fund. That is how we called it.
Yes.
National Transformation Fund. And if you make that investment, you can then apply for citizenship as a result of that. So, under the National Transformation Fund, the $200,000 will go directly to government, plus there are other fees associated with the application. In the case of the approved project investment, $50,000 alone goes to government. The rest is for the investor, the developer, to do the investment.
Okay.
And the typical example of the CBI project will be the Six Senses Hotel in Las Vegas and Davids. It is built under the CBI program.
Okay.
They raise all the funds through investors investing in their project. which is the hotel.
Yes.
And that is one of the areas that we place a lot of emphasis on because we wanted to improve the room stock in the country because we did not have enough hotel rooms. And so we gave additional incentive for hotels, developers of hotels. And so Six Senses is almost complete. And they are building a second hotel through CBI as well, Intercontinental. And in La Sagesse, St. David's, they build it. And I'm happy that they are building it in St. David's. It was not easy to get the investors to come to St. David's because you notice most of the investors want to go to St. George's
south of the
island. And I remember when I brought the investor up to see lands in St. David's and they saw La Sagesse and said that they were interested. I remember the comment was that it's such a short drive from St. George's to La Sagesse. And flat roads, under the road, they have very good roads. That is what the investor said. And so they said, who these lands belong to? The land belonged to a private Grenadian. So it was not government giving them lands to build a hotel.
Okay.
They bought the lands from a private individual. Of course, I won't call his name. Private individual, and submitted the proposal to the CBI committee for approval to build a Six Senses hotel. And I'm pleased with these the developers, and they fulfill the mandate. I was there just last week, and it's lovely villas and so on. Extremely good project. So that is CBI. That is what is meant to do for the country.
All right.
And we have said there are other areas that we can expand into to use CBI resources, investors who want to invest in Grenada. But let me point out, we are competing with a lot of Caribbean countries now. In the OECS, for example, you have Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua, St. Kitts, with the CBI program. The only in the 6 independent OECS country, the only one without a program like that is St. Vincent.
Okay.
St. Vincent Great. All the others, do have that, and Dominica have a hotel that's built out of that, and St. Kitts. In fact, the same developers built a beautiful hotel in St. Kitts through the Citizenship by Investment Program. Now, under the National Transformation Fund, we have decided that we will set aside 40% of all the revenues collected under the NTF, put it in a contingency fund. So in case of any disaster, we can use the money.
Well, my next question was leading to that. We saw some amendments was made to that contingency fund by the new administration in Parliament. What's the opposition take on that amendment?
Right. Good question. So we had put outside 40. That's why I started out with that explanation. We said, so 40 cents on every dollar will be set aside. That has helped us during COVID.
Yes.
There were resources there that we could pull from because of the disaster, because of what has happened. This government has decided, well, that's a lot of money to set aside in a contingency fund because you only have 60% left to do your work. So we were using the NTF funds to do capital projects. So the other 60%. This government thought, no, that's a very high threshold. So they have made an amendment to 10%. So instead of putting aside 40%, as we did, they will put aside 10% so that they have 90% to spend. But the reason they are doing that, because if you listen to the budget presentation, they are depending on this National Transformation Fund or CBI resources to fund a lot of their expenditure, to fund projects and to fund recurrent expenditure. So if you're relying heavily on it, then it's no surprise that they decide to put away only 10%. But this is the downside of putting aside 10%. If you are faced with a major hurricane this year, you will have far less money in that contingency fund. And therefore, you will have to resort to borrowing if you have major disaster and you have to build back. Because if you get a loan from the World Bank or the Caribbean Development Bank to build a bridge, and you have a hurricane that come and wash the bridge away, the loan is now washed away. No? You have to pay back the loan. You don't get saying, well, because you used the loan to build the bridge and the hurricane came and it destroyed the bridge, we are asking you now to write off this loan and give us a new loan. That it does not work that way. And therefore you must have contingency or set aside resources. Otherwise you'll be faced to borrowing again to build the same bridge that you borrowed previously to build. And therefore you'll be forever in this debt trap, that is it's called. You know, keep borrowing for infrastructure. Look at Dominica, how the Prime Minister said the last time that the bridge went. I don't know if you follow that story. You know what the Prime Minister said? He will have to relocate all the residents there because they build this road, nice road and bridge, and look at the disaster struck. And they have to do it again.
So you are primarily saying that the new National Party is not happy about that particular amendment.
No, we think, okay, even if you wanted to amend it, I say, because that's the right of any government to set whatever threshold they want. But you see, because of where we are located, and we're in the hurricane belt, and every year you could get a hurricane. I saying, even though you have to drop it, maybe we should consider why not 30 or 25. But we think 10.
So the percentage is that they have gone down to.
Yeah, right. That is where we are the concern. You see, we think that 10% is too small in case of a disaster, and you will need need resources to build back.
Has the government given any indication where the additional resources will come from?
The additional resources for?
Well, they have now dropped the percentage.
Right. So
just in case now something happened that they need additional funds, have they given an indication to that?
No. They have not said that. In case something happens, if we drop it to 10%, well, we have other alternatives. They have not given that indication. But I said the reason, and the main reason for dropping it to 10%, because they are relying on CBI resources to fund a large part of the budget, which is a risky thing. And I've said that, I've pointed out on our next program, that the European Commission have already decided that by 2025, member states of the European Union who have CBI program must get rid of it. And for third countries like ours in the Caribbean, will have to make changes to the program. Otherwise, the European Union will take action against these countries. And taking action could mean, right now, we have what we call the Schengen visa waiver. So you could travel to Europe without visa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they cannot tell you to discontinue your program. That's your sovereign right. You will have your program. But they could decide that they will remove this visa waiver. That means you must get visa to travel to Europe. Now, if that happens, and I hope we don't, if that happens, your passport wouldn't worth anything much, because the investors who are taking citizenship from Grenada, they want a passport that will allow them visa-free access to as many countries as possible. And then in the U.S., we have the E2 visa that allows Grenadians to invest in the U.S. The two congressmen have already raised that concern. So if the U.S. take action by removing the E2 visa, and the European Union take action by removing the Schengen visa waiver, then your passport would not be attractive, because there are other countries in the world that have similar CBI program. So, bearing that in mind, I said, in the next program, that the government should not rely so heavily on CBI resources because of these two reasons.
Okay.
The threat from the European Union and the United States Congress. They should not rely so heavily in case they take action and you see a reduction in CBI flows to the country.
All right. We have a few more minutes left on this morning's program, and this is where we invite our viewers and listeners who would like to call in, maybe ask a question or two to Mr. Joseph. You certainly have the option of doing so. Let's take our very first caller. Caller, good morning and welcome. Good morning to you.
I'm calling to the point.
Yes, you are live. Go right ahead.
Good morning. Let me load that thing. Sorry. Hold on. Just let me load that.
Caller, you may have to have your radio lowered and then get back to us, please. The number that you can get in contact, 435-2041. And I'm giving you the option of, if you have a question or two you'd like to ask, of course, the member of the opposition party, that's Mr. Oliver Joseph, you have the option of doing so. The number, once again, 435-2041. 435. Let's go to the phone line. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, JT. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph, I have a couple questions that I would like you to answer to help me, please, to understand. Now, I'm only sorry JT didn't give us more time to ask. Mr. Joseph, why, when you were in government, why wasn't all this loan, or in other words, is it true that all these loans that the Honorable Prime Minister is saying over 40 years we owe, is it true, and why didn't it pay? 1. 2, is it true that the 150, was it a campaign strategy, or is it also true that it was temporary for 6 months according to the social service? And I agree that the poor people need approximately $1,000 per month. But hear this, based on the cost of living, you all were there, and you all didn't see it fit to increase the money but a month before election on a temporary basis. So why no? You criticizing. Last question. You say that you have to analyze or whatever. What new do you have to make this country better after being there for all these years? What is your new plans for that? And maybe I should say, as I see it, the Governor General, the big boys and everybody getting big money. And there is money there for them. Why can't the poor people get money? All the government come in, all the politicians come in. You all were there for donkey years, and the people remain there for $200, $100. Why didn't you all government do something better? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. And so I'm not sure if you're...
Yes, first of all, the caller is ill-informed. If the caller, the debt to GDP ratio fell from 108% to 55%, do you know what time? Because we paid our debt every month. And you don't have to believe me. Look, go on the IMF website. Go and see the World Bank review of how Grenada managed the debt. We are highly rated for paying down our debt. So that first point, you are totally incorrect with that information. Then you talk about the increase was a month before. The budget was presented in December 2021, and the minister said from January 2022 the increase would start. Right? So it was not a month before the election, or it was an election gimmick. It was increased, and when the minister increased it, he did not say it was for 1 year or for 6 months. He increased it. However, there's some misconception about this 1 year period. Even if it was 6 months, our position is even if it was 6 months or 1 year, this is not the time to remove it. This is not the time when you have high cost of living to remove it. This is the time you should increase it. But what you did, you remove it and create additional hardship for the poor people of this country. And so I think when you say looking at the performance of the NNP, you need to be more well informed, because we are highly rated and given a lot of credit for the way we manage the country.
All right. Let's entertain another caller. Caller, good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning, sir. How are you?
Not bad. Go right ahead.
I think, yes.
think we lost the caller there. Sorry about that. 435 caller, you may have callers back, or we may entertain another caller. For some reason, we've lost that caller. Caller, good morning, welcome. Hello, good morning.
Morning to the host and Mr. Joseph. I would like to ask a question on the pension. I want to ask him if, since he have been with the NNP party for so many years, if he ever had advised the party or Keith Mitchell to pay the pension to the people of Grenada. Because in 2018, remember, a lot of us voted for NNP because we thought they was going to pay us the pension and the union will not have had to go back to court in order for the court to rule that the pension should be paid. Because they're talking about the amount of money that the government now have to pay out to people. But as he said, their government have been in government for quite a few years, 20-something years that we boasting about. And seems as he say, they have been there, he boasting this morning, the longest prime minister, longest everything. Why should we have waited for these young people to come to pay the pension? Yes, I'm glad that they pay the pension because I'm able to get a pension now. They were getting their pension after 2 terms. 2 terms could be 6 years, could be 8 years. I worked 30-something years before I could get something. And I know he's not really happy because, yes, he's saying he's happy, but afterwards he's talking about the amount of money that have to be paid out. Their government caused it because they were in government for the longest. They always boast about that. What he has to say about that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, caller.
Well,
thank you so much.
Simple. No previous government paid it. NDC was there twice before, you know. No, because, as I said, there was a Pension Disqualification Act that all governments were following. NDC did not pay it when they were there twice in office. The NNP did not pay it because the Pension Disqualification Act was the act that was in existence. The payment only came because of the March 2022 ruling that says the Pension Disqualification Act is unconstitutional and therefore the workers were entitled to the 1958 pension scheme. And that is when we start making preparation for the payment because the court has directed that to pay. Of course, you remember, we could have appealed the ruling of the court, but we decided, no, we're not appealing the ruling of the court, we will pay. And therefore, a committee was set up to advise the government and the best way going forward to pay. Now this government has set up a committee to look at pension reform because they are realizing that when you pay the retroactive pay, then you have to pay monthly, and therefore they must review. There must be a review of pension, and the Prime Minister has announced a committee chaired by Dr. Colin Gilchrist to review pensions in Grenada, and I think they have 1 year in which to make recommendations to the government.
So I want to thank you once again for being part of the program this morning. It was a pleasure having you here as always. Hope we could do this again sometime as the year progresses. Thanks again for being part of To The Point.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, I want to thank all the viewers and who this morning and who were listening via K105 Classic Radio. Thank you for being part of To The Point. Join us again for another program tomorrow. All the best, folks. Have yourself a great day today.